From the window of a small helicopter, the world below is a tapestry of green. A vast, unending jungle stretches to the horizon, a dense canopy of ancient trees. The air is thick with the morning heat, and the sound of the rotors cuts through the quiet hum of nature. Then, something pierces the green expanse. A shape emerges, too perfect to be natural. It is a tower, carved from gray stone, shaped like a lotus bud reaching for the sky. Soon, more towers appear, connected by long, silent galleries. This is Angkor Wat, the most famous of the lost temples, a stone skeleton reclaimed by the jungle. Its moats, once shimmering and wide, are now green with water lilies and thyme. These ruins seem eternal, as if they have always been silent monuments. Giant silk cotton trees wrap their roots around crumbling walls, their thick pale limbs like the arms of sleeping giants. Monkeys chatter and leap across weathered carvings, their calls echoing where the chanting of priests once filled the air. Tourists walk in hushed reverence through dark corridors, their footsteps soft on the worn stone floors. They are visitors in a ghost city, a world of shadows and echoes. The stones whisper stories of a forgotten time, of a power so immense it could raise mountains of rock from the flat earth, only to vanish back into the jungle. But let us rewind the clock. Let us fly back through the centuries, not just minutes. Imagine the silence replaced by a symphony of civilization. The gray stones are no longer weathered and old. They are bright, perhaps even covered in shining gold leaf that glares in the tropical sun. The towers are not just silent sentinels. They are the heart of a bustling metropolis, the largest pre-industrial city in the world. The air is not empty, but filled with the sounds of a million people. The murmur of markets, the clang of hammers on stone, the laughter of children, and the solemn prayers of monks. This was not a ruin. This was a living, breathing capital. This was the center of the mighty Khmer Empire. For over 600 years, this civilization dominated Southeast Asia. Its kings were god kings, commanding armies and legions of builders. Its engineers were masters of water, creating vast reservoirs and canals that turned the land into a fertile paradise. Its artists carved stories into every available surface, transforming stone into a detailed chronicle of their myths, their battles, and their daily lives. The question is not just what these ruins are, but what they were. Who were the people with the vision and the power to build such a world, and what happened to them? To truly understand the Khmer Empire, we must see it as its gods did, from high above. Let us ascend again, rising over the restored city of Angkor. From this vantage point, the scale of their ambition becomes breathtakingly clear. The temples are not isolated structures. They are anchors in a massive geometric grid. Straight canals cut across the plains, reflecting the sky like silver ribbons. Enormous rectangular reservoirs, berets, sparkle in the sun. These are not mere ponds. They are inland seas, engineered to capture the monsoon rains and sustain the city through the dry season. This aerial view reveals a civilization built on a profound understanding of water. Tuk. Water was life. It irrigated the endless rice paddies that fed millions. It filled the moats that protected the sacred temples, symbolizing the cosmic ocean around Mount Meru, the home of the gods. The entire city was a hydraulic machine and a spiritual map. The layout was a mandala, a diagram of the Hindu and Buddhist universe etched into the very earth. The king, at the center in his temple mountain, controlled the water and the kingdom's prosperity. From this height, we see the urban sprawl. Beyond the stone temples, wooden houses once stood. Palaces, markets once bustled here. Those perishable structures have long vanished, reclaimed by soil and jungle. But LiDAR scans have peeled back the canopy to reveal faint outlines of the lost wooden city. We can see ghosts of streets, house foundations, and garden ponds. It was a sprawling, low-density city where farmers lived and worked in the shadow of the stone gods, artisans, soldiers, priests. Our 20-minute flight over Angkor is a journey through space and time, a glimpse into an empire that rose from fertile floodplains to create wonders that defy imagination. This essay will be our guide. We will descend from the sky and walk the temple corridors. We will meet the kings who dreamed of stone mountains and the laborers who built them. We will explore their beliefs, their daily struggles, and their incredible achievements. We will try to answer the key questions. How did this empire rise? What made it so powerful? Why did its magnificent capital fall into silence? Before there were kings or empires, there was the land. The story of the Khmer people begins with two great bodies of water that define the heart of Cambodia. The first is the Mekong River, a mighty artery that flows down from the Tibetan Plateau. For thousands of miles, it winds its way through mountains and valleys, gathering silt and strength. As it reaches the flat plains of Cambodia, it slows down, depositing its rich, fertile mud across the land. This annual deposit created a landscape perfect for farming, a place where life could flourish easily. The river was a source of food, a highway for travel, and a powerful natural force. The second great water feature is the Tonle Sap, or the Great Lake. This is no ordinary lake. For half the year, it is a relatively shallow body of water. But during the monsoon season, from May to October, an incredible natural event occurs. The Mekong River swells with so much rain and snowmelt from the north that it forces the Tonle Sap River to reverse its flow. Instead of draining the lake into the Mekong, the river pushes water back into the lake basin. This causes the Tonle Sap to expand dramatically, quintupling in size and becoming one of the world's most productive freshwater fisheries. This pulsing, breathing lake was the beating heart of the early Khmer world. This unique environment of river and lake created a paradise of abundance. The annual floods of the Mekong renewed the soil, making it incredibly fertile for growing rice. The expanding and contracting Tonle Sap provided an almost endless supply of fish. This natural wealth meant that people did not have to struggle constantly for survival. They could produce a surplus of food. This surplus was the crucial ingredient for civilization. It allowed some people to stop farming and become artisans, priests, soldiers, and leaders. It was in this cradle of water and abundance that the first Khmer communities began to grow into something larger and more organized. These early people were skilled rice farmers. They learned to work with the rhythms of the monsoon and the rivers. They built simple irrigation systems, channeling water to their fields to ensure a reliable harvest. They lived in villages built on stilts to stay dry during the floods, a style of architecture still seen in Cambodia today. They traveled by boat along the countless natural waterways that crisscrossed the floodplain. Their lives were deeply connected to water, not just as a resource, but as a defining element of their world. This deep, practical knowledge of hydrology would later be scaled up to build the massive waterworks of Angkor, but its roots were here, in the small villages along the banks of the mighty Mekong and the Great Lake. Long before Angkor was conceived, the land was a patchwork of smaller kingdoms. These early states, known to Chinese chroniclers as Funan and later Chenla, centered around a single powerful leader or dominant family. Early kings used military might, trade, and diplomacy to cement power. They controlled coastal river ports, inland waterways, and tapped a maritime network linking India and China. Indian merchants and monks arrived, bringing new ideas, new technologies, and a new religion. This Indian influence was transformative. Early Khmer societies absorbed Indian culture eagerly. They adopted Hinduism and later Buddhism. They learned Sanskrit, language of court and religion. They embraced Indian kingship ideas, especially the Devaraja, the God King. A king was a living representative of a god, usually Shiva or Vishnu. This belief gave rulers immense, divinely ordained authority. fusion of local and Indian ideas created a unique political religious culture. Chenla was often divided, land Chenla along the Mekong and water Chenla on the delta and coast. They were rivals, warring over trade routes and fertile rice lands. Capitals were not yet grand stone cities. Settlements were wood and thatch, fortified with earthen walls and moats. Yet early kings began temple building. They built small, single-towered brick sanctuaries to honor gods and legitimize rule scattered across the land. These were seeds of the great Angkor temples. Life centered on the village, the rice paddy, and the local temple. Most were farmers, ruled by planting and harvest seasons. Society grew stratified. At the top, the king, his court of priests and officials. Below, artisans, merchants, soldiers. Most people remained rice farmers tied to the land. All the raw elements, rivalries, shared culture, rice farming knowledge, and the concept of divine kingship were in place, waiting for a catalyst to forge them into a single, mighty empire. The catalyst for the Khmer Empire arrived in the form of a man named Jayavarman II. His early life is shrouded in mystery. Inscriptions tell us that he came from Java. Inscriptions, the Malay Peninsula, or simply from overseas. He was likely a Khmer prince held in exile or as a hostage at a foreign court. Around the year 800 AD, he returned to his homeland. He found a country divided, with local lords vying for power. Ambitious, charismatic, a brilliant military strategist. He embarked on a systematic campaign to bring warring factions under his single rule. His journey was a slow, deliberate conquest. He moved his capital several times, establishing a base in one region before moving on, consolidating his authority as he went. He fought battles, he formed alliances, he gradually unified the fragmented Khmer territories. But he knew military force alone was not enough. He needed a powerful idea, a spiritual declaration of independence and unity. He found it on a sacred mountain northeast of the Tonle Sap, Phnom Kulen. This mountain became the birthplace of the Khmer Empire. In the year 802 AD, on top of Phnom Kulen, Jayavarman II performed a magnificent, revolutionary ritual. He invited a high priest to sever ties of allegiance to foreign powers, especially Java. The ceremony established a royal cult centered on the king as Chakravartin, the universal monarch. It consecrated him as Devaraja, the god king. He became the earthly incarnation of the god Shiva. The ritual was political theater, elevating the king above all rivals. Loyalty to him became a sacred duty. It declared a new, independent, divinely sanctioned kingdom. This ceremony is the founding moment of the Angkorian Empire, a declaration of sovereignty that echoed across the land. Jayavarman II had not just conquered people, he gave them a unifying identity and divine purpose. He laid the ideological foundation for later Khmer kings. From then on, the king was the axis of the Khmer world, the link between heavens and earth. The empire had its founder, its founding myth, its divine mandate. The stage was set for a civilization that would echo through the ages. After the momentous ceremony on Phnom Kulen, Jayavarman II eventually established his final capital near the northern shore of the Great Lake. This area, known today as Roluos, was strategically brilliant. It had access to the lake's abundant fish, and the surrounding land was ideal for large-scale rice cultivation. While Jayavarman II himself did not build the grand temples we see there today, he established the city of Hariharalaya, named after a deity combining Vishnu, Hari, and Shiva, Hara. It was his successors, particularly Indravarman III, who would transform this wooden capital into a showcase of the empire's emerging power by building the first major temple mountains made of more permanent materials like brick and stone. Indravarman III, who ruled in the late 9th century, was a true visionary. He understood that to secure the empire's prosperity, he needed to master water on an unprecedented scale. His first great project was not a temple, but a massive reservoir, the Indradataka. This vast man-made lake, known as a baray, was over 3 kilometers long and several hundred meters wide. It was an incredible feat of engineering, designed to store monsoon rainwater for irrigation during the dry season. This project demonstrated the king's power over nature and guaranteed the food supply for his growing capital. It was a physical manifestation of his duty to provide for his people, a key role for a divine king. With the water supply secured, Indravarman turned his attention to the gods and his ancestors. In 879 AD, he consecrated the temple of Phrae Ko, or Sacred Bull. This temple was dedicated to his deified ancestors. It consists of 6 brick towers arranged on a single platform, decorated with exquisite stucco carvings of celestial figures and guardians. While modest compared to later temples, Phrae Ko was a crucial step. It was one of the first major temple complexes at the new capital and firmly established the tradition of ancestor worship as part of the royal cult. It was a public declaration of the king's lineage and his gratitude to those who came before him. Just 2 years later, in 881 AD, Indravarman I consecrated his state temple, the Bakong. This was a much more ambitious structure and arguably the first true temple mountain built of stone in the Khmer Empire. It is a 5-tiered pyramid representing the cosmic Mount Meru, home of the gods. A single central sanctuary tower once crowned its summit. Surrounded by a wide moat symbolizing the cosmic ocean, the Bakong was a microcosm of the Hindu universe and a powerful statement of the king's divine status. The temples of the Roluos group, Phrae Ko and Bakong, were the architectural prototypes for all the grander temples that would follow. They were the foundation stones of Angkorian civilization. The legacy of Indravarman was continued by his son, Yasovarman I. Ascending to the throne after a brief succession dispute, Yasovarman was even more ambitious than his father. While Roluos was established, he sought a new location to build a capital that would surpass anything before. He wanted a site that was strategically sound and spiritually significant, where he could place himself at the center of a symbolic universe. He surveyed lands northwest of Roluos and chose Phnom Bakeng, a natural hill rising 60 meters above the plain. This site would become the heart of the new capital, Angkor, chosen with incredible care. Between the Kulen Mountains to the northeast and the Great Lake to the south, vast tracts of land for even larger reservoirs and canals. Yasovarman began a monumental building program. His first major project, a new, larger baray, the East Baray, Yasodarataka. The reservoir was enormous, over 7 kilometers long, nearly 2 kilometers wide. It would quench the city's thirst and irrigate rice fields for centuries. At the city's center, he built his state temple atop Phnom Bakeng. Like the Bakong before it, Phnom Bakeng was a stone replica of Mount Meru. A pyramid of 5 levels, 5 sandstone towers and a quincunx on the summit, and 104 smaller towers on terraces and base. From the top, the king could look down on his city and the vast baray he had created. A position of supreme power, physically and symbolically. He had placed himself at the center of a man-made cosmos. Yasodarapura, the first city of Angkor Wat, was born. He had not just moved the capital, he redefined its scale and ambition. He laid out a grid of roads, canals, and founded hundreds of monasteries, ashrams. He amplified the foundations of Roluos, creating a highly efficient hydraulic city and an architectural diagram of heaven on earth. This choice in construction set the stage for the next 300 years of achievement. The golden age of Angkor was about to begin, and it would echo for centuries. The foundations laid by Yasovarman I at Angkor set the stage for an unprecedented explosion of creativity and power. The centuries that followed his reign, from the 10th to the 13th century, represent the golden age of the Khmer Empire. During this period, a succession of powerful and ambitious kings sought to outdo their predecessors, not only in military conquest and territorial expansion, but in the magnificence of their building projects. Each new king needed to legitimize his rule, and the most dramatic way to do so was to build a new state temple, grander and more elaborate than the last. This divine competition fueled an architectural arms race, transforming the Angkorian plain into a sprawling canvas of stone mountains, vast reservoirs, and sacred cities. The empire reached its greatest territorial extent during this era. Khmer influence stretched from the coast of modern-day Vietnam in the east, across Thailand and Laos, and down into the Malay Peninsula. These conquests brought immense wealth back to the capital in the form of tribute, resources, and crucially, labor. Thousands of war captives and subjects from across the empire were put to work quarrying stone, digging canals, and raising the massive temples that glorified the king and his gods. The administrative and logistical skill required to manage these vast projects was staggering. It speaks to a highly organized and sophisticated state, capable of mobilizing and sustaining a workforce of tens of thousands for decades at a time. This period saw the construction of some of the most beautiful temples beyond the main Angkor group. Gems like Banteay Shrey, the citadel of the women, were built not by a king but by a high-ranking courtier. Its pinkish sandstone is carved with a level of intricate detail that is almost jewel-like, depicting scenes from Hindu mythology with breathtaking artistry. Other major temples like Pre Rup and Ta Keo continued the Temple Mountain tradition, each a massive step pyramid reaching for the heavens. Ta Keo is particularly interesting as it was left unfinished, giving us a rare glimpse into the Khmer construction process, with huge uncarved blocks of stone still waiting for the master carvers to begin their work. This golden age was not just about building bigger, it was also about building better. Khmer architects and engineers refined their techniques with each generation. They became masters of sandstone construction, learning how to quarry, transport, and lift blocks, weighing several tons with astonishing precision. Their artists developed a distinct and expressive style, moving from the static figures of earlier periods to dynamic narrative scenes that flowed across vast gallery walls. The empire was at its zenith, a powerhouse of military might, economic prosperity, and cultural brilliance. It was in this climate of supreme confidence and boundless ambition that the stage was set for the most famous and breathtaking Khmer temple of all. That's where the story really peaks. In the early 12th century, a king named Suryavarman II came to the throne. His name meant protege of the sun, and his ambition was as brilliant and far-reaching as his namesake. He was a formidable warrior who launched military campaigns in all directions, but his greatest legacy was not one of conquest. It was a vision of architectural perfection. He broke with the tradition of building on a natural hill or in the center of a new city. Instead, he chose a vast, flat plain south of the existing capital. Here, he would construct his state temple and funerary monument, a structure so grand and harmonious that it would become Angkor Wat, the temple city. The construction of Angkor Wat was a monumental undertaking that likely spanned the entire 37 years of Suryavarman II's reign. It required planning, resources, and manpower that is difficult to comprehend even today. Geologists estimate that over 5 million tons of sandstone were used to build it. This stone had to be quarried from the sacred slopes of Phnom Kulen, more than 25 miles away. The massive blocks were then likely floated down canals and rivers on rafts during the wet season and dragged to the construction site by thousands of laborers and elephants. The sheer logistics of this supply chain, maintained for over 3 decades, demonstrate the immense organizational power of the Khmer state at its peak. Unlike his predecessors who primarily dedicated their temples to the god Shiva, Suryavarman II was a devout follower of Vishnu, the preserver and the protector. Angkor Wat was therefore dedicated to Vishnu. This was a significant religious shift reflected in the temple's unique design. Unusually, the temple faces west, the direction associated with Vishnu and also with death. This has led scholars to believe that it was intended from the start to serve as the king's funerary temple, a place where his body would be laid to rest and his soul would be reunited with the god Vishnu after his death. It was both a glorious temple for his god and a magnificent mausoleum for himself. The result of this colossal effort was a masterpiece of symmetry and symbolism, enclosed by a vast outer wall and a shimmering moat over 600 feet wide. The temple rises in 3 concentric rectangular galleries: inner gallery, middle gallery, outer gallery. At its heart, 5 lotus bud towers soar towards the sky, forming a perfect quincunx that mirrors the 5 peaks of the mythical Mount Meru. From an aerial perspective, the temple is a perfect mandala, a diagram of the Hindu cosmos rendered in stone. It is a structure of sublime harmony, where every element is perfectly proportioned and aligned. Angkor Wat was not just a building, it was Suryavarman II's personal heaven on earth, a stone prayer to his god. Yeah, really extraordinary. For 400 years, Angkor slumbered. Though it was never truly lost or forgotten by the Khmer people, who saw it as the sacred work of ancient giants, its grand avenues and palaces fell silent. The jungle, patient and relentless, moved in to reclaim the stone. Giant silk cotton trees grew over the temple walls. Strangler fig trees grew through the walls, their powerful roots embracing the carved galleries in a slow, crushing embrace. The wooden city of 1 million people rotted away, leaving no trace but faint outlines in the soil. Angkor became a city of ghosts, a romantic and mysterious ruin that fired the imagination, the few European explorers and missionaries who stumbled upon it. It was a symbol of a lost civilization, a testament to the vanity of human ambition in the face of nature's power. The reawakening began in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when French archaeologists began the systematic study and restoration of the temples. They cleared the jungle, documented the carvings, and began the painstaking work of piecing the great monuments back together. This effort, continued today by Cambodian and international teams, is one of the largest archaeological conservation projects in the world. Using ancient techniques and modern technology, conservators work to stabilize the crumbling structures and fight the encroaching jungle, and preserve the delicate carvings for future generations. The sleeping city was slowly being brought back to life, its stones once again revealing their stories to the world. Today, the legacy of the Khmer Empire is the very soul of modern Cambodia. Angkor Wat is the central symbol on the nation's flag, a source of immense pride and a powerful reminder of a time when their ancestors commanded a vast empire and created wonders of the world. Khmer language, Theravada Buddhist faith, classical court dance, with its graceful movements depicted on the temple walls, the traditions of rice farming, life along the rivers, and the Great Lake, continue much as they did 1,000 years ago. The empire did not vanish, it transformed, its cultural DNA carried forward into the present day. Our 20-minute flight over Angkor reveals more than just ruins. It reveals a story of enduring human spirit. It is a story of a civilization that harnessed the power of water and faith to build a vision of heaven on earth. It is a story of decline and decay, but also one of rediscovery and rebirth. The silent stones, once symbols of a lost world, are now vibrant centers of culture, tourism, and national identity. They stand as a hopeful testament to the resilience of the Khmer people and the timeless power of their creativity. The glory of Angkor was not just in its past construction, but in its continuing ability to inspire awe and connect a nation to its magnificent heritage.